Welcome guys, I'm Bright, as you may or may not know, and today's topic is, as you have seen from the title, most controversial movies that I found personally. All my sources will be linked below if you want to check any of them out. I also just want to thank you guys for the last video. The amount of views I got was insane, like I've never gotten that many, so thank you. And I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get on with it. The Last Temptation of Christ portrays the life of Jesus Christ as he faces various forms of temptation including fear, doubt, depression, reluctance, and lust. Willem Dafoe is playing as Jesus. In the movie, Jesus starts to see that he is the Son of God and is torn between his own desires and God's plan for him. Jesus saves Mary Magdalene from being stoned, gets baptized, and starts preaching. He gets tempted by Satan in the desert, he performs miracles, and then he begins bleeding from his hands, which to him meant that he must die on the cross for man's salvation. He is then taken to be crucified. A woman posing as Jesus' guardian angel convinces Jesus he does not need to give himself up for the world. Jesus marries Mary Magdalene and later she passes away. Jesus later realizes the guardian angel was Satan and goes to be crucified once again. He has now overcome the quote-unquote last temptation of escaping death and a disaster that would have hit mankind had he not been crucified. He then dies. So why is this controversial? Well, some Christians consider this film to be blasphemous as it strays away from gospel narratives, and also there's a scene that depicts the newlywed couple, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, having. It's not clear whether this event really happened or if it's part of Jesus' last temptation inside his mind. It's also controversial because the film contains moderate nudity and gore by some standards. The creators of this movie have stated that this is not an exact representation of the gospel, but more a what-if tale. On October 22, 1988, an integralist Catholic group set fire to the St. Michel cinema in Paris while it was showing the film. This caused 13 people to be hospitalized, of which 4 were severely burned, and obviously the cinema was severely damaged. There were also other cases of death threats and protests surrounding this film. According to IMDb.com, this movie is banned in Mexico and the Philippines, but personally I don't see anything wrong with it, but that's just my opinion. Triumph of the Will is a German propaganda movie starring It's raw footage from the 1934 Party Congress in Nuremberg, which was attended by over 700,000 supporters. Now, I'm not gonna bore you with the details of the plot because it's extremely boring. Like, half of you would probably click off if I read it. But anyways, this film contains excerpts of speeches given by people like Rudolf Hess. It also contains the public reaction of the speeches as well as SS and SA troops. The film's main theme is Germany's great power now that is the leader. This film has been recognized as the greatest propaganda film in history. Leni Riefenstahl, who was known for producing and acting in propaganda, had the lucky job of directing, co-writing, producing and editing this film. She had to condense 61 hours of footage into 2 hours. She said that the film does not contain one single anti-Semitic word. She claimed this film is not propaganda. We all know why this movie is controversial. It may be disturbing to some to see during in the movie. This film is obviously banned in Germany. Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom, is one of the most disturbing movies out there in my opinion. It follows 4 corrupt Italian libertines, or a person who has few moral principles and has relationships with many people, who kidnap 18 teenagers and force them into 4 months of extreme violence, sadism, genital torture, and psychological torture. This film is split into 4 segments. I'm going to sum up the plot as best as I can. 4 Italian men pick 9 men and 9 women to be brought to a palace. A boy is trying to escape. The 4 men come up with horrible forms of torture for their own pleasure. A woman uses a mannequin to quote-unquote teach the hostages how to properly quote-unquote stimulate men. A girl gets her throat when she tries to escape. 2 victims are forced to get married and get awarded by the men to prevent them from having with each other. There is a coprophilia, look up the definition if you don't know what that is, scene, which involves the consumption of human feces. Yeah. The victims start to turn on each other and admitting whatever they know. Yet another victim is for sleeping with a staff member and being a communist. Some victims are spared and sent home. The victims are then awarded, tortured and through branding, hanging, etc. This movie is controversial mainly because of the disturbing nature of it, as well as the extreme use of R-word violence. But it's also very much talked about that these actors playing as the victims were underage while filming, the youngest being 15. All my sources will be linked in the description. The director and co-writer of Salo, Pier Paolo Pasolini, was assassinated just 3 weeks before the film's release. This movie is currently banned in Iran and Ireland. It used to be banned in many other countries but were later re-rated, most countries having it rated 18+. The Birth of a Nation, which was formerly named The Klansman, is an American silent epic drama film. The plot follows two families, namely the Camerons and the Stoneman families, who have their friendship compromised due to the Civil War, as the families are fighting on opposite armies, as well as Abraham Lincoln's assassination and the birth of the KKK. This movie is found to be, quote-unquote, the most controversial movie by some people, as some think this movie teaches race prejudice and racial injustice. The film also portrays the KKK as an heroic entity needed to preserve American values, protect white women, and maintain white supremacy. The movie contains black characters while white actors in blackface, which obviously caused outrage, especially in the black community. Finally, the film portrays the black characters as unintelligent and aggressive towards white women, which was and still is a harmful stereotype. The Birth of a Nation is not banned in any country, though it used to be banned in Ireland. Freaks is an American pre-code drama horror film which follows circus trapeze artist Cleopatra, who takes interest in Hans, a little person. However, she's only marrying him for his inheritance. Hans's friends try to convince him of this, but to no avail. At Cleopatra's wedding party, while she's intoxicated, she reveals what she really thinks of the sideshow freaks, Hans's friends. So the freaks make her one of their own by making her into a quote-unquote human duck, by removing her tongue, out one eye, and melting and deforming the flesh of her hands and cutting off her legs. This movie is controversial as the quote-unquote freaks in the film were people with actual deformities, which many believe were exploited through this movie. It also undignified these people with these conditions by calling them freaks. This movie is banned in Ireland, Italy, and Sweden. It used to be banned in Finland up until 2016. Viridiana is a Spanish-Mexican comedy drama film. The movie surrounds Viridiana, a nun who meets a widowed uncle. The uncle is reminded of his late wife when he sees Viridiana. He drugs her with the plan of wedding her but decides against it. She quits being a nun, and by the end, it is implied she has with two other people named Ramona and George. The main theme of this movie is surrounding religion. The original ending of the film was censored. It depicts Viridiana entering George's room and slowly closing the door behind her. This ending was censored by Spanish censors due to its suggestive nature. Viridiana is controversial because the movie critiqued the hypocrisies of the government, the rich, and the church. So, many found this film blasphemous. Viridiana's director and writer, Luis Buñuel, claimed that he didn't intend to make the film blasphemous. An example of blasphemy was that there was a penknife appearing in the film in the shape of a crucifix. Luis instead wanted to convey the message that well-intended charity can be misplaced by innocent people. This movie is not banned in any countries. Last Tango in Paris is an erotic drama film which surrounds Paul, who recently lost his wife to He meets a woman named Jean and builds an anonymous relationship. At one point, Paul outwits her. We're talking about this later. They split up but meet again, and after Paul tells her more about his life, Jean leaves Paul. Paul chases her to a building where Jean kills Paul. The film contains a very infamous R-word scene where Brando, the actor who plays Paul, anally R-words Jean using butter as lubricant. The scene is simulated, but Schneider, the actor who plays Jean, states that she didn't know that film was in the script. In 2007, Schneider goes on to say, "They only told me about it before we had to film the scene, and I was so angry. I should have called my agent or had my lawyer come to the set because you can't force someone to do something that isn't in the script. But at the same time, I didn't know that. Marlon said to me, 'Maria, don't worry, it's just a movie.' But during the scene, even though what Marlon was doing wasn't real, I was crying real tears. I felt humiliated, and to be honest, I felt a little both by Marlon and by Bertolucci. After the scene, Marlon didn't console me or apologize. Thankfully, there was just one take." In 2011, Schneider claimed that Brando and Bertolucci, the director, made a fortune from the film while she made very little money. She unfortunately passed away in 2011. In 2013, Bertolucci claimed that the R-word scene was in the script, but using butter as the lubricant was not. He and Brando didn't say anything to Schneider to, quote-unquote, get a more realistic response. What? That's so disgusting. Bertolucci admitted to cutting out a scene of the film containing a shot of Brando's genitals. Bertolucci says, quote-unquote, to show him naked would have been like showing me naked. This movie contains immense amounts of The film is banned in Ireland, Singapore, and Spain. Now, on to the infamous film, Cuties. Cuties is a French drama film. Amy, a Senegalese French girl with a traditional Muslim upbringing, is caught between Muslim values and internet culture when she joins a twerking dance crew. mean, there's really not much else to say. That's weird. The girls in Cuties are all 11 to 14 years old, which means that right now the oldest actor in the film would probably be around 17 to 18 years old. The movie contains of children, some examples including girls dancing lewdly while the camera zooms in on the children's buttocks, midsections and crotches. An adult employee at a laser tag place is entertained by the girls' movements, as well as Amy, a very young girl, dancing with thrusting hips and twerking. There is also an implied exchange between an 11-year-old girl and a guy. I mean, what was the producer thinking? It's all so gross, like, no man. The director and writer of this film, Maimuna Tukure, stated that the movie was made to criticize the hype of pre-adolescent girls. Well, isn't that ironic? For some reason, Netflix defended this movie to the ends of this earth. Probably for money, I guess. Netflix used a suggestive promo poster for the film, which I won't be showing, but it's weird. Images from the film were banned on 4chan's movie and television board, which is saying a lot. And all in all, this is a disgusting movie and no one should be watching it willingly. I've never watched it and neither should you. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out so much. And feel free to comment any feedback you may have from this video. And thank you for watching and have a great day.